Good morning to you, folks. JB here with you live across all platforms here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, WFLAnow.com, and saying a special good morning to our folks joining us on the WFLA YouTube page. We are approximately 5 minutes away from a press conference getting underway in Indiana. Indiana State Police giving an update on a story that you might remember from April. Before I go over the particulars on this story, let me make something very, very clear. On the right side of your screen right now, this is a stock.
This case is heartbreaking. I really hope that we can find a way to get some justice for this poor little person that was put in this suitcase. So let's watch for this presser.
Image of a suit. This is I just have to make that clear. Let's get into the particulars that we have for you here on WFLA.com, and you can click on the, of course, description on this video, the link in the description or in the pinned comment below. It'll take you over a 2-hour story of a body of a 5-year-old boy found zipped in a suitcase. And let's go over the particulars of what we reported on WFLA.com back in April. So the investigation began on April 16th after a mushroom hunter called 911 reporting a body that was found inside of a suitcase with very prominent Las Vegas logo on that suitcase. Authorities said that the suitcase was found near a heavily wooded area approximately 80 feet off the road, off of a road in Indiana. Police had previously said that they believed the boy to be between the age of about 5 and 8, but later said that they were confident that the boy was approximately 5 years old. Described as a black male, approximately 4 feet tall, with a slim build and short hair. Investigators said that they are convinced that he was killed within a week of the body's discovery. We are now getting, let me show you everybody here on your screen. We are now getting a feed coming in, and I think this is the press conference that might be starting early. Let's just listen in here for a moment.
Can you hear everything okay, guys? Hi, Mississippi. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm hoping that they can find the identity to this little guy. Oh, my word. I can't hear JB.
We need to make some more copies.
But I can hear the back.
How many? I was told 8 earlier, but I think there might be how many total different agencies are here.
JB, turn on your mic. I don't think that's me. I cannot hear JB. Volume up. Mute my dog. It's gotta be. Poochie.
Good morning.
Okay, we can hear you.
Thank you to everybody who came here today. We appreciate your assistance, and we're going to ask for your continued assistance in this matter, in this case today. So we're thankful for everybody that's here. This is a message that we want to get out to everybody, and spread across the country. So it's a bittersweet day. Bitter because no matter what progress is made, what happens in the case, we're still dealing with the tragic death of a precious young child, and that unfortunately we can't change that. So bitter in that way, but the wheels of justice do turn, and we do make progress. And so we have information today regarding the case that we're thankful that we're able to come here with that information today and keep moving forward to answer a lot of questions, and again to ask for your assistance. So I'm just going to, with me today, I'm Sergeant Kerry Halls, the Public Information Officer for the Sellersburg Post, Indiana State Police. With me today is Tara Coates Hunt. She's the Chief Prosecuting or Deputy Prosecutor with the Washington County Prosecutor's Office. Again, this is a Washington County, Indiana case, and their office will be handling it, as well as the lead detective in this case, Detective Matt Busick from the Indiana State Police here in Sellersburg. Also have Sheriff Brent Miller from the Washington County Sheriff's Department with us today, and we're just thankful for the support of everybody here. Just a brief overview on this case. April 16th of this year, 2022, a young child was found deceased in a very distinctive suitcase on Holder Road in southeast Washington County, near Pekin, Indiana. Holder Road is a dead-end road. It's very isolated, not heavily traveled at all. That was back on April 16th again. At that time, when we were first notified of the child being discovered, very little information was there for our units, our detectives, our officers to work with. There were no witnesses, there were no family members, there were no acquaintances that came forward with any type of information. We only had what we had there at the scene, and that was it. We had worked almost instantaneously with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and any leads from that also proved unsuccessful. No matches to any child that was listed as missing. We had thousands of tips. We did have a dedicated tip line that's still open. Thousands of tips have come in over the past months. Again, this has been approximately 6 months since April 16th on that tragic morning or evening. Thousands of tips came in. Unfortunately, none of those tips were associated with this case. But we are very grateful for those tips that came in. We're grateful for the public's interest in this case, obviously wanting justice for this young boy. Again, at the time, we advised that it was a approximately 5-year-old black male child who was found in that suitcase with no apparent signs of trauma. But we are thankful for all those tips that came in, and we do want the public's help, obviously, and we're thankful for their attention to this case. An autopsy was performed shortly after that, and again, there was no signs of physical trauma that we could detect. The autopsy also did not detect any signs of physical trauma that was readily available or seen. The autopsy listed the cause of death as electrolyte imbalance that caused a viral gastronitis. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't explain all that, but that was the cause of death listed on the autopsy. Also, at that time, toxicology reports did not reveal anything. There was nothing in the toxicology reports that would lead us to a cause of death. From the onset, detectives and crime scene technicians and Indiana State Police laboratory personnel utilized physical evidence in hopes of discovering, determining, and locating a suspect in this case. I want to emphasize that no crime scene evidence technologies were spared in this case, in this investigation by the Indiana State Police, including those available only through federal and outside agencies. So we utilized everything we could. Anything that was a possibility was looked into, and the department was 100% behind it. Any type of funding or anything like that that was needed, there was nothing spared in this case. As a result of physical evidence and the investigation itself, our detectives were able to identify 2 suspects in this case. And detectives were also able to identify the deceased child. On October 14th, based on information in this investigation, the Washington County Circuit Court issued 2 felony warrants, arrest warrants. One for Dawn Elaine Coleman, 40, of Shreveport, Louisiana. Another for Dewan, and I'm not sure about the pronunciation on this, Ludi Anderson. Dewan Ludi Anderson, 37, of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the mother of the deceased child. Those felony warrants were for neglect of a dependent resulting in death, a level 1 felony, as well as obstruction of justice, a level 6 felony. As a result of the information gathered in this investigation, Detective Matt Busick, who is the lead investigator, and Detective Chris Tucker, also from the Indiana State Police Post here in Sellersburg, traveled to California. On October 19th, just a few days ago, Detective Busick located and arrested Dawn Coleman with the assistance of the San Francisco PD. This investigation is ongoing and continuing. As a result of information that's still being worked on in this investigation, the two also traveled to Los Angeles, the Los Angeles metro area after arresting Dawn Coleman. They were unsuccessful in locating Dewan Anderson, where they believed she could possibly be. Again, the investigation continues, and as a result of information that's gathered on Tuesday, October 25th, the Washington County Circuit Court issued an arrest warrant for murder for the mother, Dewan Anderson. Again, units were unsuccessful in locating Dewan Anderson in the Los Angeles metro area, if I did not make that clear. On Tuesday, that arrest warrant was issued for murder for Dewan Anderson. Dewan Anderson is currently at large. Again, she is the mother of the deceased. She is described as a black female, approximately 5'5", around 135 pounds. In her last known photo, which I have here courtesy of the Louisville Metro Corrections Department, she had dark brown hair at that time, short, dark, very dark brown hair. Again, this is the last known official photo that we have of her. We're going to attempt to get better photos. We believe we can get a better photo. Again, she's from Georgia, and we're going to attempt to get a better photograph of her for you. Dewan Anderson is last known to have been in the Echo Park area of Los Angeles, California. But since this investigation began, she's traveled to several locations west, including Houston, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco. At this time, her whereabouts is unknown. So again, she's at large, and we're looking for the public's assistance in locating her. At this time, we can also identify, excuse me, identify the young man that was found in the suitcase. He was Cairo Amar Jordan. Cairo Amar Jordan was from Atlanta, Georgia, excuse me. He was 5 years old at the time of his death. And Cairo would have turned 6 this past Monday on October 24th. Again, Cairo Amar Jordan, he was 5, from Atlanta, Georgia. The Georgia Bureau of Investigations has assisted us in this case as well, and they have made contact with his family members after we were able to get more confirmation that the boy was in fact Cairo, which this investigation has a lot of twists and turns, a lot of information. It may sound like it just moves methodically based on the information I read. So please know that this probable cause affidavit that we'll hand out has a lot of information. That's still just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of information in this case. So realize that, we're still not gonna be able to answer every in and out of this investigation, but we're giving you as much as we possibly can, and I will give you a copy of that probable cause affidavit. That probable cause affidavit is for Coleman, who again was arrested in San Francisco just a few days ago. That's all the information I have at this time. Detective Busick, would you like to make any statements as far as?
No.
Okay. So, Ms. Coleman will be transported here to Indiana sometime within the next under 30 days. She will be here on Indiana soil to answer to those charges. Again, we need the public's help in locating the mother, Dewan Anderson. So I've shown that photo. We'll have that photo for you to go out, and hopefully a better photo. But we desperately want the public's help in finding her and bringing her to justice. This whole case is all about justice for Cairo. That's the only thing this case has ever been about. So I know there's been lots of questions, and why don't we do this, and why don't we do that? The investigators have a lot of information, and they all have their reasons, but the main reason is the integrity of this case, and so that justice is served. And so even some things that may seem obvious, that why wouldn't you do this, there are reasons why they can't. And if we have done some of those suggestions that come in from the public and from the media, it's very possible we wouldn't be standing here today. We would have nobody in handcuffs. We would have nobody in jail right now, bringing them back for a trial. So just understand that there's always a reason. We don't take, obviously, anything lightly at all. It's a very serious investigation. Again, the department's held nothing back on this investigation for our detectives to be able to do what they need to do. So, having said that, that's all the information I have at this time. We can take a few moments maybe for a few questions. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics. I've given you a lot, and I will give you the probable cause affidavit that you can look into.
Can you provide the spelling?
Yeah, the spelling.
Sure. Again, I'll start at the beginning. The first arrest, Dawn, D-A-W-N, Elaine, E-L-A-I-N-E, Coleman, C.
Best news ever.
Mother, and currently at large, Dewan, D-E-J-U-A-N-E. The middle name spelling, I'm not positive on the pronunciation. The spelling is L-U-D-I-E. Last name of Anderson, common spelling A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N. 37, from Atlanta, Georgia. Cairo, Amar Jordan. C-A-I-R-O-A-M-M-A-R Jordan, J-O-R-D-A-N. And he is also from Atlanta, Georgia.
What's Don's relation?
Excuse me?
What is Don Coleman's relation
We'll-
to anyone?
Can't get into that right now, as far as I don't have all the specifics that we're going to get into, but not related physically that I know of information that I
Do
have.
they have any ties to this area at all? Was she in Metro Corrections? Is that
She
why they
was,
brought up?
that photo was provided by Louisville Metro Corrections. She was arrested by LMPD a few weeks prior to this case beginning. So my knowledge is they were only here temporarily. I'm sure you guys will do your due diligence and look into the background.
What
And
was
you,
she charged with? Do you know?
I don't have that information specifically in front of me. I believe it was some type of a theft charge, but I can't say that for sure.
Have you spoken with Cairo's father?
The yes, detectives from this agency have spoken with the family members, and we also were assisted by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations.
When you arrested Dawn, what did she say about what happened?
Well, we don't get into any comments about that are made, any statements, any witness statements or suspect statements. But she was arrested. She was, interviewed as part of this investigation.
But what were they doing in Washington County?
Do you want to answer that? Do you have issues with me just giving general background on that?
Good morning, Mexie.
Through. Again, when you guys do your due diligence and investigating backgrounds, you'll probably come up with some accurate conclusions as to why they may have been in this area. That would have been about the time of if I correct me, that would have been somewhere around the time of the Kentucky Derby in the springtime, but I'm not positive on that.
Do you know if she had any other children?
I do not have any information on other siblings or family members or any children for her.
So for the two charges, the obstruction of justice and the neglect of dependent resulting in a death, if convicted, what's the maximum sentence?
Can you speak to that, or would you like to speak to that at all? They're both felonies, you know, one is a level 1 felony, the other is a level 6 felony. So a level 1 felony is basically, you know, it's the most serious other than murder, which is just listed as a felony. A level 1 felony is the most severe felony. So it's, you know, I don't have the specifics right now as to the maximum they could be sentenced to.
Have they offered any kind of suggestion or why they left the child in a suitcase and on a dead road?
Again, lots of information, and some information is in the probable cause affidavit. We're not gonna speak to that this morning. Again, it is an ongoing investigation. We're still looking for one, but there's a lot of information that you will have access to in the probable cause affidavit. So we don't speak as an agency. It's our rule not to speak towards any statements or any motives. We don't speak to any of that.
Are both of the charges for both of the individuals, the first?
The first two charges I listed, a neglect, and obstruction of justice, those charges stand for both. We have a murder warrant listed for DeJuan Anderson, the mother.
Can you address at all why this has become a murder case?
Again, just information that's gathered, you know, the detectives have gone through a lot of information, tons of interviews, you know, in the last few days, lots of information to comb over and specialists to work with. So, you know, as a whole, the information that they have makes our department and the prosecutor's office confident in a murder charge, and that's why that warrant's out there. Again, we have probable cause for that murder warrant. So the PC affidavit, again, has lots of information listed. You won't have the PC affidavit for Anderson because she is not in custody. That is not a public document. But the other PC affidavit has lots of information. Again, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. We don't put everything, a whole case, into a PC affidavit, just what's needed to establish probable cause.
Was there any information that Cairo could have been in danger, or that authorities had been called on his mother before for his safety or anything like that?
I don't, at this time, have that information, but I don't have information that's saying that that's the case.
And was he enrolled in school?
I don't have that information at this time.
Speak about just the importance of getting the public's help. Obviously,
Right.
You all relied on tips from day one.
Right.
And just in locating, I mean, the suspect.
Right.
The child's mother.
Again, we had the special tip line, we asked for tips, we got thousands of tips. Unfortunately, none of them were successful. To my knowledge, Cairo, or to our knowledge, Cairo was never listed as a missing person. He was not listed as a missing child. Nobody ever reported him missing. So that would have helped, obviously, had that information been in a system someplace. So that's responsible, people who are responsible for his care and well-being have to do that. That's nothing we can control.
Because parts of these crimes cross state lines and the investigation obviously cross state lines, why has the state of Indiana and Washington County made a point of adjudicating Steve?
That's, you know, very good question. Long story short, basically, that's where the body was located, and the way the law is written, it can stand at that location. We can assume things, may have information for different locations, but in the end, the child's body was found deceased at that location. So
Any idea where the child died specifically? Was it in Georgia? Was it on the West Coast?
again, we can't get into all the specifics of the case, but we can say that he was deceased, you know, when he was located at that location.
What does justice for Cairo look like for you all who have been investigating this for 6 months? I can tell that everyone's feeling emotional in this room. What does justice look like for you?
Justice means bringing everybody who's responsible for this death here and having them stand and go through the system and be found, you know, justice served through the court system. We want justice for Cairo. Many, many sleepless nights for our detectives and officers involved in this. It's not just our department, it's the Washington County Sheriff's Department was the first officer on scene. The gentleman who found him, the mushroom hunter, if you recall from the original news release, who found him, the whole community came together. Many of you were there for the funeral where he was laid to rest and given a proper burial and the recognition that we could and the you know, the honor that we could for him at that time. So justice, you know, for everybody means bringing those responsible for his death before the public to stand trial.
The brick in the case then was physical evidence that led first to the suspects or first to identifying Cairo?
Physical evidence, and again, I won't get into exact physical evidence, but physical evidence led to suspects. And, as the investigation continues, it all kind of snowballs or expands.
How difficult or easy was it to find Don Coleman, and where was she found exactly in San Francisco?
I don't have the specific location where she was located, but, our detectives, our crime scene analysts, our crime scene technicians have a lot of advanced technology and systems at their use to look in and utilize. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not, but they had a lot of different technologies that they utilized. Specifically how they did that, I can't get into that, but just know that a lot of people were working on this case here, Indianapolis, all over, trying to assist in this.
Are you aware that if Cairo he was in his mother's custody at the time of his death?
Say that one more time.
Did his mother have full custody of Cairo?
I don't have specific information on the custody, legal custody, but obviously, with the charges, we know that he was with her. So as far as who has physical, official legal custody, I believe that could be the case, but I don't have that specific answer in front of me.
How is it becoming so difficult to find them out? What happened? You went to LA and then couldn't find her.
Right. Again, sometimes, it's just like anything else. Things change. They may have information that's available, and over time that information can stop. Again, we don't get into specifics of how it was done, but they obviously were able to at least attempt to track or locate after they had an identity.
I am so glad this baby has a name.
Federal agencies, I need to mention that too, also assisted with this case. Not specifically at that location, to my knowledge, but throughout the case, our detectives have been in close contact with various federal agencies who have assisted. But yeah, the technologies, whatever they were at that time that they used, sometimes that's available and sometimes it's not. Sometimes things change, and something we did have is no longer a source.
When speaking to the family of Cairo, did you all get any explanation why there wasn't a missing child report?
Yeah, I don't have information on that now, and I haven't spoken with the family, myself, so I'm sure there's reasons, but no, I don't have information as to.
Will Cairo remain in Indiana? I know that.
That's very early for me, just for anybody to say. That's not something that I would be a part of and be able to answer. In years or time future, after everything's completed, that's probably a matter for the family. But I'm not the one to make that call.
I know this case has been personal for you. There have been sleepless nights for yourself and for so many others in your department and for the community, anyone who's a parent really watching this. How does it feel to finally be able to take a breath and read that boy's name?
Well, we're not going to take a breath other than just, we're still in full stride on this investigation. So, yes, obviously, we've been looking, like I said at the beginning, bittersweet. Nothing's going to change the fact that Cairo's not with us, but we're very thankful for the information that we do have, and we can step forward. We've wanted from the get-go to be able to say we've identified this child and we've identified suspects, and we realize it takes time, but in the whole scheme of things, 6 months later, when we started with nothing other than what was in front of us in the woods that evening, and nobody came forward with any useful information. Not anybody's fault, but nobody could provide any information. Nobody that could provide information came forward. So they went from having nothing other than what lay there in front of them to a lot of answers in 6 months' time, and that get into specifics. You'll have information relied to you with the probable cause affidavit that will mention stuff, but we specifically don't mention that during.
You mentioned resources beyond ISP. Could you talk about at least what those resources were that may have helped find?
Again, there's numerous technologies that are out there. Some are very advanced, DNA technologies, those types of things. We have the technology within the Indiana State Police for some of that, but there's even more advanced DNA technologies that were assisted by other agencies. Facial recognition technologies were utilized at one point by federal agencies. So again, multiple agencies assisted. Some of those have, especially the federal backing, they can do a lot of things that the state agency can't. So we were very thankful for that information and those abilities to help us.
Would anyone from Washington County like to address how this has impacted your community and the way that your community really adopted this unknown boy?
I mean, excuse me, I'm sorry. I can personally speak, and if Sheriff wants to, I'm also from Washington County. It was my pastor who led the service, the funeral service for my church. So the community really came together, and it was very emotional and traumatic. We had candlelight vigils, but it's impacted the community tremendously. Why is this child here? But Sheriff, would you like to say anything?
I could only echo what you've said, Gary, about that and how that's impacted the community and everybody coming together. And we appreciate, all the hours that has been spent by the Indiana State Police and other law enforcement agencies, to identify this child and to identify suspects and to get at least one of those suspects in custody at this time. And hopefully with the help of the community, we'll be able to get the other suspect, in custody in a timely manner so that we can bring them both back here to Indiana to bring some closure to this case.
Is Don Coleman being cooperative, would you say, in this investigation?
Again, I can't get into statements or anything like that at this time. So, again, you'll have information that's listed in the probable cause affidavit that may assist you in some of those questions. But yes, it's very traumatic. Again, I started to say earlier, a lot of sleepless nights, especially by the detectives involved. Detective Busick has spent numerous hours, and not just Detective Busick, but he is the lead investigator and has done an outstanding job. But all the detectives involved and the people involved in this case, so much information to comb over, to read through, to scan, to watch, hours upon hours. And obviously, the people at the scene, the events that they saw unfolded before them that evening. Sheriff Miller's deputy was the first on scene. Very traumatic, event for him. So it's affected the community as a whole very deeply. So I don't have any more specific comments. I think that covers what we want to say here today. So again, once we're done here, I will get the copies of the probable cause affidavit to each of you. But the number one thing at this point is we have a suspect that's at large. We have a murder warrant for DeJuan Anderson, and we need the public's help, no matter where you live, anywhere in the United States, possibly, out of the country.
Need to find
we can
baby
use
mama.
help, locating her. So for Cairo, help us locate her for Cairo so justice can be served for him. Thank you.
I know you did this at the beginning, but would you say and spell your name again, please?
Sure. It's Sergeant Carey Hull, Careyhuls. Thank you.
Breaking news on.
So there we go. Let me just, there we go. So guys, we need to find DeJuan Anderson. Let's hope that, hello James. Let's hope that they get a hold of her soon. Maybe we can dig up a picture and start trying to pass that out a little bit. Hi public. It sounds like the mother and possibly the mother and her boyfriend. They've got more than one search warrant out. And yeah, right, James? 5 years old. Cairo is his first name. His mom's last name is Anderson. So, yeah, I was surprised to see this morning. He is one of those kids that you just don't forget. Babies are not supposed to be found in suitcases. Unreal. So hopefully she gets the full extent of the law. People that behave like this, parents, there's no understanding how they behave this way. This child, it didn't sound like there was basically anything wrong with him, and he died from dehydration is what they're saying at this point. Where are her connections? I'll have to look back. I was trying to do a few things while I was doing this live here. If we look back, I know that they give out where she comes from, where they think she possibly is. So yeah, I'm going to jump off and see if I can find this affidavit, and if I can, I'll pop back on and we'll go through it, and I'll try and dig up some pictures as well. So guys, thanks for joining me for the press conference. As always, it's great to see you, and I'll absolutely see you in the next one. Bye.